Bienvenidos a la Conferencia Internacional de Liderazgo 2020.
Welcome to this International Leadership Conference with opportunities and hopes of this in time of crisis, interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. This is the session of the International Association for Parliamentarians for Peace under the topic strengthening the links, the bonds of Americas, building new bridges and opportunities to strengthen the cooperation. My name is Simão Ferabolli from Brazil, and I'm going to be your moderator of this session.
A la parte inferior de su pantalla.
Please, if you need translation, please look at your interpretation box. You can find English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish. Also, if you have any question, you can do it in the chat. The International Association for Parliamentarians for Peace was launched in February 1916 in Seoul, Korea. Later, it was launched visiting in more than 100 countries with the support of parliamentarians from around the world. In 2018 in Dakar, Senegal, it was launched in the continental level as a part of closeness to the summit of security and peace and human development to be happen soon, who happen later on. Later, we organized summits in all the continents. We finalizing with the 2020 summit in Korea, Seoul, Korea. This association of International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace is a forum for world forum to address the world problems by applying interdependency, mutual development, and universal values. We have a very high level speakers, so I want to go directly to my panel of expositors. Please look in your chat about the details of their curriculum, so I cannot introduce all of them. It will take too much time for us to read everyone. So please go to the chat and you can read it yourself. So because we have short time, I ask them to keep themselves into the time they are appointed to the speech. Thank you so much. Let me begin with North America, with the Honorable Don Burton, who served as a congressman during 30 years. Also, he is the co-president, co-chairman of the International Association for Parliamentarians for Peace. So, Honorable Don Burton, please take the word.
Well, greetings, distinguished colleagues and former parliamentarians, current and former, and from throughout the Americas. When Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon asked UPF to create the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, it was not the first time that legislators from different countries interacted to work on some common problems, but it was unique and unprecedented in its scale. When we first met in Seoul, Korea 4 years ago and founded this association, there were 150 parliamentarians from a few nations. Some of them here were there at the time, and we met in the hall of the Korean National Assembly, and they're resolved to establish the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace. We spread the word, and when we met again 2 years later, we had grown to nearly 1,000 members of the national legislatures in close to over 120 countries. The individual parliamentarians who associate with IAPP all have their own political perspectives and agendas on the most difficult and seemingly insoluble problems in the Middle East, in Northeast Asia, in Africa, or global, such as the current COVID pandemic. We try to take a broader, more nonpartisan perspective on these issues. The goal is to seek consensus, to tone down the political and elevate the humane. My friend and colleague, Ambassador Joe DeTrani, who is the special envoy to the six-party talks with North Korea, was similarly impressed. He said, this is a group that is ideal for working on the North and South Korea problem, both in Seoul and in Pyongyang. Dr. Moon deserves full credit for this. The lofty ideals of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee are actually embodied in Dr. Moon's quiet and lifelong dedication to solving the human conflict. The idea for the association and her commitment of resources and heart comes just in time for the world. Today, the level and intensity of political conflict and the potential for global eruption is greater now than during even the Cold War. The world needs a body of conscientious men and women of good faith who understand political processes in the real world, and that is IAPP. One project currently being discussed by IAPP members through their informal network is the development of a global pandemic early warning network of many eyes and ears worldwide to detect and call attention to the earliest observances of illnesses that have the potential to spread globally. IAPP as a global network of individuals could be in a position to see trends and situations more clearly than large organizations. For example, COVID was first reported to the World Health Organization on December 31st, 2019. It took the World Health Organization until January the 30th to declare the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. It took them, again, more than another month after that to declare a pandemic on March the 11th, 2020. What is under discussion is development of an active communication network between members of parliament and between the parliamentary bodies themselves. We propose partnerships among all interparliamentary organizations facilitated by members of parliament, ministers of government, especially health ministries, and heads of state. In retrospect, looking at the spread of COVID-19, there are crucial intersections in the way a virus disperses globally, where steps can be taken to limit exposure, and it could mean a big difference in the loss of life. That's just one idea, still very much in formation, that has come from our collaborations. You look at the world, at the Middle East, at the Pacific Rim, nations in Africa emerging from the devastation of colonialism. You look at our hemisphere here and ask yourselves, what are the needs overall? What do we need to do as members of this community of nations in the Americas? North America and South America have always needed bridges between the two halves. In every sector, business, in the management of scarce resources, clean water and air preservation, human rights, culture, we need people, ideas, and circumstances to act as bridges between North and South and among every single one of us. I look forward to hearing all the ideas expressed at this webinar, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Honorable Don Burton. Como siempre, apreciamos su valiosa participación. Es archivo vivo de una experiencia histórica para nosotros.
You always have a very good words for our events. Thank you very much. Now, I want to go down to South America, inviting Mrs. Silvia Giacoppo, who's member of the Parliamentarian movement in the Latin American and Caribbean. You have the word, please. Good afternoon to everybody. My greetings to everybody and all of those who have take part in this event. I want to say thank you the opportunity I am so happy to be part of these people from all the continent, that we need to use these opportunities to share, innovate, by innovating politics with hope in a moment of peace and reflection, where we need to double efforts to foster the values for the peace. As Latin American, I am very worried about that we have become the most affected people areas of the world by this, exacerbated by the very weak situation of social health and the fragmented healthy system. According to the report presented last month of August by the United Nations, COVID-19, the worst recession of the last years, the last 100 years, and making that 45 million of people come in situation of poverty, to reach the amount of 230 million people, raising up to 28 millions of people in very extreme poverty, reaching the amount of 96 million, putting us in very strong difficulties for nutrition. Now more than ever, I agree that we need to put together efforts between North and South America. But I really are convinced that all kind of crisis implies a nice opportunity. We are facing a proven time, and an election in we can guide our life, renovating our lives. In this crisis, we cannot act as we have been doing before, but we need to work. We decide if we make it better or worse. In such a sense, the recuperation later after the pandemic is like a great opportunity to reverse the great damage they made by this unequal region, transforming the model of development and at the same time strengthening democracy, saving the human rights and guiding us to peace according to the agenda of because there's no way to take care of the human rights if we don't look for peace. So we need to really construct an agenda for sustainable development. But now we are learning something about this pandemic, is that we need to understand the autosufficiency and maximization of the benefit for ourselves must be removed forever of our life. This dramatic situation has unmasked the vulnerability of humanity. We need each other, dialogue, inclusion, and cooperation. We need to turn over and make them a new axis of direction. We need build new bridges, answered for new balance in the paper of the government, the private and social society, putting together with transparency, so we can have clear accounts and accountability in all levels of inclusion, the higher level of inclusion. In that sense, I think it's crucial to foster the brotherhood, as San Francisco de Assis was professing. Saint Francisco of Assis. This value implies the right of all human beings to be together in a common project, valuing the dignity, diversity, and freedom of each one. And we have a common object, a prime objective is including and developing the men's and all excluded sectors. We need to aspire to a world with more brotherhood, working and acting for a new political order, a new international economic with fair business as an expression of a new goods in a new order of benefits and commodities. We based on the reciprocity and where we have a very strong democratic community and citizens and law between the politicians, because politics is in its roots love. It's the authentic vocation of giving answers to any necessity, to the suffering of the people, and to the achievement of those projects more deep rooted in the community. Let's look through brotherhood, this capacity of becoming one with the other, valuing his diversity. Let's become one, suffering the pain of those more unfavored ones. Dialogue with everybody, even with the adversary, with the opponent. Learn how to listen, understand their perspective, and in this way, augmenting the understanding and the empathy for developing of a capacity and resolving pacifically all the conflicts. In these days, we are suffering a great wandering in the middle of fear. We are obligated to acknowledge our vulnerability and our interdependency and take care of the only truly way to overcome the interconnected crisis. The fraternity takes overcome the limits of our countries and love the nations of as the other as ours, and this is close to the highest dignity of the humanity. It will feel like one enriched people for the diversity of each one. We want to go forward to overcome this crisis, to create a better democratic world in peace. Thank you very much. In this fraternity.
Muchas gracias, querida senadora de Argentina, la persona certa para representar la Argentina y América del Sur en este panel tan importante de los parlamentarios para la paz. Muy valiosa su contribución. A continuación, tenemos...
Now we have the new Alejandro Sepulveda, Senate for Mexico. He is the youngest senator in the history of Mexico. He was elected with 32 years age. He cannot be with us physically, because he has a meeting in the Senate, but he sent us a video of his speech. Please, let's go to his speech. Mr. Samuel Sepúlveda.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Un saludo a
My
todos
greetings
mis
to
amigos
all my
del
friends
continente
from the
americano,
American continent,
to my fellow friends on
from
US,
United
y a
States,
todos los amigos latinos.
down to all Latin
Soy Samuel
America.
Garcia, senador de Nuevo León,
I'm
del
talking to
estado de
you
Nuevo
in
León,
my name as a
en
senator
la
from Nuevo
República
León,
Mexicana,
one of the states of
y
the
estoy muy
Mexican
contento
Republic.
de estar con
And I'm very
ustedes
happy to
para
be with
hablar de
you
cómo
to
construir
talk
puentes
about
entre
building bridges
países y
between
obviamente
our
nuestro
nations
caso en los parlamentos en el
by
Senado de la República.
working
Primero que
together with
nada, les
the
quiero
parliamentarians
decirles
and the
que en
senates.
México
To
estamos
begin with,
todos
I want to talk
ustedes
about
en una
the
situación muy
Mexico.
complicada.
We are in a very difficult situation
COVID-19
because of
nos ha
COVID-19.
traído una serie de problemáticas
We
como el
are
tema de salud,
facing
el
a lot
tema
of problems
económico, el tema
in
fiscal,
health and
y por
economic,
ende, de manera colateral,
and of course,
en el turismo, la
tourism,
seguridad, en la
security,
educación, muchas
education,
complejidades. Y en el
and
Senado de
many,
la
many
República
complexities.
hemos tratado de
In the
encontrar
Senate,
mecanismos
we've been
que
looking ways to help
den al país una
to
reactivación
the
pronta,
country, kind of a
sin poner en
soon
riesgo la salud
reactivation,
de los
not
mexicanos.
damaging the process of health.
Dentro de las acciones que un servidor está proponiendo,
One of the measures I'm proposing,
plenamente
because I'm very
seguro
convinced,
de
I'm
que
totally
para
convinced
reactivar
that in
una
order to
economía
reactivate
devastada
an
por una
economy
pandemia, se
affected by the
requiere un
pandemic,
plan fiscal de
we need a very
reactivación
clear
económica.
fiscal
Por
plan.
eso hemos
That's why
propuesto
we have
en el Senado de
proposed
la República lo que llamamos el ingreso
what we
mínimo
call
vital. Es
the
una especie
minimum
de
wage
seguro de
per person.
desempleo
It's
donde
kind of
el
unemployment
gobierno se
benefit
encarga
where the
de
government takes
entregar
responsibility
un apoyo
to
mínimo
give a
a
minimum
todos aquellos que han
support
perdido el empleo
to
o que han
those who
quebrado
have
su
lost
pyme,
their
su pequeña o
jobs,
mediana empresa. Un
whether it's
apoyo
small
tal que se respete la
or
dignidad
medium
humana,
business,
incluyendo
respecting human
alimentos,
dignity. And we also
vestido,
providing food,
vivienda,
clothes,
salud y, de ser
housing,
posible,
and
un medio
health,
ambiente sano para todos los mexicanos.
even if it's possible, a
Obviamente, esta reactivación
healthy
tiene que venir también
environment.
acompañada de
But this
esquemas
has
de
to be
financiamiento para posponer
moving
o
forward with a clear
disminuir los pagos de los
support
servicios básicos.
financially.
Me
How are we
refiero
going to get the
agua,
funds to
gas
support these
y
measures?
luz. Y evidentemente,
So
de
evidently,
eliminar,
we
recortar
need
o
to
posponer
cut
impuestos para que vuelva a haber una derrama
funds that currently have
En ellos, por ejemplo,
been wasted
tenemos
in order to
las
save money to
propuestas
support these
de
projects.
bajar el impuesto
We
a
also
los
thought of reducing tax
combustibles para
to
que
the
sea más
oil
barato el traslado,
so
distribución
to
y
make cheaper
comercialización de
the
los productos
transportation
básicos.
and commercialization
Bajar
of goods.
gradualmente la tasa del impuesto sobre las ventas, que acá se llama IVA, impuesto al valor agregado.
Also be able
Ahorita estamos en
to
un 16,
lower
bajarla a un
the
12.
current taxes,
Tenemos de las tasas más
sales
altas de
tax,
ICR en un 35%.
what we
Esta
call IVA.
también debe bajar. Y sobre
We need to
todo,
reduce
el año pasado en
taxes.
México se crearon
And
los
especially
impuestos
last year,
digitales, que es
we
cobrar
created what we call the
impuestos
digital
a toda
taxes.
plataforma, servicio o
So any
aplicación
platform, any
aplicación
service online
que
became taxed in Mexico.
consuman los mexicanos en
So
territorio
anyone
nacional.
who's utilizing an online
Creemos que
service
hoy
has to
en
pay
día,
taxes.
para poder ayudar a los emprendedores, a los negocios,
So
es
in
necesario
order
quitar
to
este tipo de
support
impuestos
those
para
entrepreneurs,
que el
those
e-commerce,
small
el
businesses, we
comercio
need to reduce
digital
these
sea
taxes,
cada vez más fluido.
especially in the online
Lo que acabamos de
services.
lograr
So
es
what
el
we
famoso
just
USMCA,
accomplished
el nuevo Tratado de Libre Comercio,
with a new
TEMEC, volumen
free
2,
trade treaty
con Estados Unidos y Canadá,
with the United States and
donde
Canada,
prorrogamos las
we were able to
exenciones de impuestos al
postpone
comercio exterior,
the
que
tax
haya
exemptions to
mucha más
foreign trade.
facilidad en
And it's
importación,
much more
exportación,
easy
transporte y
now to
traslado de
import and
bienes y
export
mercancías amparadas
for
en el
goods
TEMECAN.
under this
Y
treaty.
añadimos obviamente capítulos que hoy están
And we also
en
add
la
chapters
revisión del
and
Alfaro.
articles.
Me refiero al
They're very
capítulo de propiedad
meaningful.
industrial, al
Industrial
capítulo
property,
de medio ambiente, el capítulo
environment,
de corrupción, farmacéuticas,
corruption,
servicio automotriz,
pharmacy,
entre muchos
cars,
más
among others.
temas que entraron en vigor este 1 de julio y
And
no
they
dudo
started
que vayan
this
a darle
past
mucha
July
más
1st,
asistencia y
and we
apertura
clearly
para
see
reactivarnos
they're going to bring
económicamente
great benefits in our
a
countries.
América del Norte, México, Estados Unidos y
So,
Canadá, pero ojalá
United
también muy
States,
pronto
Mexico, and
emigremos
Canada.
y busquemos
But also,
ese
I
tipo
hope
de tratados
that this could be
desde antaño,
expanded and
porque
create
no
new
desconozco que ya
treaties
existen algunos con Sudamérica, pero debe
that
haber uno
will
igual de
benefit the
grande
countries
con
in
mis
South
hermanos
America as well.
países de América del Sur. Entonces, en este minuto que me
So
queda,
in this
pues yo quisiera
final minute, I would like
ponerme a
to
sus órdenes. Voy a darle
be
mi
ready to
cuenta de
support you.
Facebook,
I'm going to
Samuel
give you my
García
Facebook account,
Sepúlveda. Ojalá
Samuel
podamos
Garcia
seguir
Sepúlveda.
uniendo
I hope we can
lazos
continue working
latinos
together. We can
y darle a
stretch
los jóvenes una
strength
plataforma de
our
futuro.
Latino arms
Creo que
and
los
give hope
jóvenes ya no
to the
están
future,
pensando ni en la corrupción
our future youth.
ni en la impunidad. Esos deben ser
So
temas
no
ya del
corruption,
pasado,
no impunity.
donde los nuevos
These
políticos
topics,
no
of course, should be
tengamos nada
over.
que debatir
And the
al
new
respecto
politicians, we
de lo
don't need, we
limpios
should
que estamos.
not even
No, más
discuss
bien
about
los
this,
jóvenes debemos buscar
corruption and impunity.
plataformas que sí
But
hablen
as
de
young
futuro,
leaders,
de medio
we need to talk about
ambiente,
future,
de cambio
the
climático,
environment,
del
climate
cuidado de
change,
nuestros bosques, selvas, mares,
to
de
protect our
emprendedurismo, de
forest,
automatización, de redes, de
to
comercio
encourage the
electrónico,
online
en fin, de la
commerce,
globalización y los temas del futuro. Agradezco
what we call
mucho
about the future
su
globalization. I thank
invitación.
everyone
Desgraciadamente,
for
por
this
un tema de horario
opportunity.
no los pude acompañar,
Unfortunately,
pero
because
tienen
of the
aquí bajo
time
su sede
frame,
República
I
un
could not
muy
be
buen
in
amigo,
person
Samuel
live
García,
sharing.
siempre a sus órdenes.
I am
Fuerte
here
abrazo,
at your service.
cuídense
A
mucho
big hug,
y espero
take
que
care of
muy
yourself,
pronto salgan de
and
la
I hope that
pandemia
very soon your countries
COVID-19.
will also end this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Ay, qué gusto.
What a pleasure of your hearing your conclusions, Senator, so young, with so much energy and vision about the future, and an exhortation to the youth to prepare themselves for a better, bright future. Thank you, Mr. Senator from Mexico. Now, our next speaker, His Excellency Mrs. Loretta Sanchez, who is member of the Chamber of United Senator for 15 years in the United States. Please take the word, Mrs. Loretta. Thank you very much.
Todos mis amigos, gracias por estar con nosotros, especialmente mi colega Don Burton y
My
también
colleague Don Burton, and to so many friends that I have from Latin America and many other places.
mis respuestas en inglés.
I'm going to speak in English.
As a bilingual California Congresswoman with two parents from padres mexicanos, I naturally took an active interest in U.S. policy toward our neighbors to the south. Throughout my time in the Congress, as a senior member of the Homeland Security and the House Armed Services Committee, my interest in U.S. policy toward Latin and Central America, the Caribbean, and Mexico only intensified after the 9/11 attacks on the U.S. exactly 19 years ago. From 2007 to 2009, I was the chairwoman of the Border and Critical Infrastructure Subcommittee of the Homeland Security Committee. And when I came to the Congress in 1997, the U.S. was was groping for a new policy toward the America south of us. Of course, the 1980s, I believe, were dominated by Reagan's Neo-Monroe Doctrine, which really focused on opposition to Soviet and Cuban efforts in our area. Because of that, the US increased military aid to select allies, used the School of the Americas to cultivate close ties to Latin military leaders, and the CIA to really subvert some left-wing movements and governments and kind of tip the scales in favor of a pro-US regime, regardless of their morally questionable practices and anti-democratic policies. And the 90s were dominated by America's so-called war on the drugs. Again, a time when we beefed up military intelligence and law enforcement. And when support for that in the United States started to wane, came 9/11, the terrorist attacks. And they offered again the US military, intelligence, and foreign policy leaders a new way to energize US activity in the region. And even though I believe there was some speaking, some talk of democracy, the fact of the matter was most of our aid came in the military, intelligence, and law enforcement arena. Everybody got in the counterterrorist game and created all sorts of really fascinating stories to justify more troops and military aid to friendly regimes. For example, when I visited Colombia in 2002, I heard of tales of Mideast terror training camps across the border of Venezuela. When I visited Argentina and Brazil in 2003, I was told of Al-Qaeda bases in the tri-border region of Brazil and Argentina and Paraguay. US military officers told me these stories, justifying more military aid to Latin America. But you know, when I met with President Uribe of Colombia, or Michelle Bachelet, who was the defense minister and later the president of Chile, they didn't talk about Al-Qaeda. When I met with Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, and my colleague Don Burton was there with me, honestly, he only quoted me Pablo Neruda as we strolled through the presidential gardens, and he proposed marriage to me. I politely declined. All of the leaders I met with as a US Congresswoman were keenly interested in US economic aid to promote economic development and stability. And most told me that democracy could thrive and garner public support, but only if the people saw the benefits of free markets and genuine US interest in the well-being of people instead of military help. You know, my experience with US policy and direct diplomacy with leaders in Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, some of the Caribbean nations, Mexico, was one usually on the military front and not so much on the economic. And I believe that the United States will never sustain a good partnership with all of these countries until we demonstrate a long-term commitment to their economic development and free elections. Since leaving Congress, I have been engaged in mutually beneficial commerce and trade with our neighbors to the south. Being from California, the land of the green economy and business startups, I asked President Obama to go to Córdoba, Argentina, to speak on developing clean industries in October of 2017. In 2018, I led a private trade mission of 20 United States companies to Buenos Aires, La Rioja, and San Juan provinces in Argentina to seek mutual partners to grow, produce, extract, construct, and/or export products in an effort to increase commercial activity in Argentina. And you know what? The governors of these provinces, they were from different political parties. So there wasn't this politics issue. Commerce was the issue. The visit also informed me of the tunnel to be built between Argentina and Chile to provide a corridor to move product during the winter months to export through the Pacific. And this got me involved in persuading the Inter-American Development Bank to give even more money towards this corridor. And of course, it helped that Luis Alberto Moreno, a friend I developed while I served in the Congress, is the president of that organization. And most recently, I've been working with a newly elected young mayor in Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico, to entice more private monies from California to develop tourism, the tech industry, clean industry in that region. I believe COVID will pass. We need to use this time now in these type of Zoom meetings, in our ability to think, in our ability to really look at our families and believe in our families, that we can have a future for all of us. We must make sure that we use this time wisely to build relationships across our countries and recommit to being good neighbors. That means that we must build our economies together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Mrs. Loretta. I will be very happy to spend more time sharing such a great knowledge about in such a short time for our webinar. So coming back to our South America ILC conference, now we're going to introduce Mrs. Carla Zambelli Salgado. She's a member of our Congress in Brazil. She is a founder of the movement on the streets. She's one of ladies from the parliament who is supporting the Bolsonaro president, Mrs. Congresswoman, Honorable Mrs. Zambelli. Please take the word with you.
Hola, Simão. Hola a todos. Muy buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here during this time, especially this day that happened in the United States in 2001. First, I want to thank the opportunity to represent Brazil in this event and Sao Paulo, the state and I'm proud of to represent in Congress. In particular, I would like to thank the opportunity to speak about something that is very dear to me, to build bridges to cooperate in order to achieve peace. And it's the duty for any parliamentarian. Throughout these days and my job, that's what I try to do. Between people, between entities, states, bridges of any kind. We all know that peace has a different meaning in different regions and also different moments. In the Korean Peninsula, for example, we could say currently to reduce the risk of a nuclear threat is the urgent point in order to achieve peace. In South America, peace is connected to especially the fine balance and cooperation. We know that the world has changed in different ways. Even before the pandemic of COVID-19, our world was already changing. That's why our own countries, they had to face incredible challenges, national and regional, the past years. We had budget issues. Now the challenge is to combine our different objectives. Even in the midst of this pandemic, we need to strengthen the value of democracy and promote cooperation in the region. During this dark time, our countries, they feel like forced to reduce the cooperation because of the pandemic, but I don't think it should be that way. Cooperation should be the key word in order to achieve peace. In South America, we even have ideological differences, very serious, among our governments. And we have them, it's true. But we have to be pragmatic. We have to work together for peace in order to prevent crises and conflict situations and to avoid even war. That's the way to achieve peace fully. We do need, little by little, bridges and build trust among our nations. We have to be ready to act together in front of an international challenge and very complex, even in a post-COVID-19, in order to avoid and prevent suffering throughout the world, including a massive unemployment. These are just some issues and challenges that we face in the future. If we talk about health, we need to think and work together how to develop a platform of scientific research, even to find and understand viruses that we don't even know yet. We need to find our immigration policies. We need to research, we need to check, double check, find a way to open ways to bring medical professionals, health professionals in our countries. We also need to find vaccines to tropical illnesses that have been affecting us, like dengue, malaria, and even like a yellow fever. In terms of economy, there's so much to do. And again, beyond ideological differences, instead of insisting of what divides us, we need to move forward in areas that are a common interest for all in South America and all the Americans, such as the integration of our infrastructure, be able to work together in supporting, expanding our various infrastructures. We have to come to an agreement of public policies that will benefit all peoples in our countries and be able to have social stability in our nations. In Brazil, for example, the administrative reformation proposed by President Bolsonaro to be discussed in the National Congress, it has a purpose to save money in order to fund the programs that are much needed to the most vulnerable people. The truth is that even to negotiate, to come an agreement, it's really challenging. That's why we must move forward. We need to cooperate in order to seek peace. We have to, even the monkey follow from the trees. We must follow that saying. We must work together. Coming together, multiple actors that work together in order to achieve these, ultimately lasting peace. So parliamentarians can work together with the private sector and religious leaders. No matter how difficult the challenges may be, we must continue working for peace and cooperation. And that is what makes indispensable the tirelessly work of organizations such as Universal Peace Federation. Thank you very much. A big hug to everyone.
Muchas gracias, Congresista Zambelli.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman, Honorable Mrs. Zambelli, for representing our country, Brazil, including because you did your speech in Spanish to integrate all with Latin America and Caribbean.
Now, I want to introduce Mr. Alberto Alfaro, former president of the National Assembly of Costa Rica, and also Mr. Alfaro is the president of the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace in the region of Central America and Caribbean. Honorable Mr. Alfaro, please take the word. Thank you very much, Dr. Simão, my good friend, and the Senator Don Burton. It is a great pleasure to share this forum with you, to share this good group of panelists and legislators from all Latin America, from all the American continent, and people who has an impact in the political area of the nation, and looking for harmony. Of course, it's good to greet Dr. Hak-Ja-Han Moon in a very good salute. Greetings to the friends, the people who are fighting for peace, and all the friends in the UPF, and also those friends of the International Association for Parliamentarians for Peace. And to everybody who is taking part of several organizations that are taking part on the UPF initiative. As always, it's my great honor to have the chance to speak, the opportunity to address to you a message of positive, of love and fraternity, solidarity and peace. Proud to lead in the leadership of this organization of Parliamentarians for Peace in the Central American and Caribbean region, and elevate the role that plays the parliamentarians in the world to guarantee the law and the maintaining the peace in the world, but even more, the privileged vocation of leadership to serve as intermediaries, conciliators, and be example of respect and harmony for the peoples and the future generations. My good friends, parliamentarians, we are conscious of our humanity is living in moments of anguish and fear, wandering, and we have lost the faith and the hope in a better tomorrow. But the faith in our new future, but also we have left behind, we have stopped believing in our governments. This health crisis has taken out of spot. When we face it, the highest curve, the governments find no ways to get out. But recently the stronger nations also, they suffer the chaos, the agony, and the tribulation, social turmoil. But in front of this bad news, there is a crisis. I also consider that the human being is provided with the natural resilience, and from the gods, they have a power, supreme power, that guides them to face the adversity and allow to overcome the punish. In front of this misfortune, men and women are also to develop their spirit and fight strongly to remake a new fly and a new mythological bird, phoenix bird. I'm sure that this confinement was a time of reflection and complacence and tolerance to the families of the world, a time of meditation to the past, and we have found our life what we did with egoism. This time of crisis, possibly we are ashamed of our mistakes, and sometimes casuals and others we did on purpose. No, we haven't come to the understand that maybe there will be second opportunities for the love and for the forgiveness, and say to another one, I really love you. Now we realize that our economies are not based in our strong economies. We have found that this COVID-19 has been even powerful than many atomic bombs together. Has been an enemy that face at the same time the whole humanity, no matter how strong or weak you are, or how rich or poor you are. And then I ask myself, why we are fighting against ourselves? The future enemies will be being like the virus and the bacteria to killing the human race. Those with selfish men can make new experiments, live experiments, like announcing apocalyptical non-reverse damage to the nature and the environment. For this, my dear friends, we have seen different things in the past. The majority of the laws are now obsolete and old, and now we need to legislate for a new world, justice, a fair world for everybody, equal for everybody. We need to find equality on gender and the races, and get more and reduce discrimination, xenophobia, and femicides. You have to create new laws to drive new problem. This damage, this pandemic that takes care, attacks us in this union. We have to have a new good news. We need to create new laws to strengthen the family union, which are the very base of the culture, and create such a society around them. So now we have to put the good as the greatest supreme value of the human behavior, as an element for a best education of our children and youth. And so we can reach the consciousness in a very short time, and create a new culture of peace and love, and disconnect our neurons, the concept of hate and war between human beings. You have the power to choose and approve new initiatives to respect life, to respect the flora, to respect the animals. And of course, we insist in other allocation, the protection of the whole environment and our seas. We need to have a new guide for new legislators of the world. You, my honorable parliamentarians, you must stop the egocentrism among the discrimination of material healthy, and use all the benefits and energies we cannot understand why there is no intelligence to make new equipments and mechanisms in industry to announce new eras. In Costa Rica, we have created a new law for neutral carbon for 2030. My friends, you have to stop the political control and to go in a better taking care of the environment. You have to stop the perspective and create a message of reconciliation, and create peace and harmony, the nations who are welcoming you. You are the leaders of a new society. Please take this great opportunity to make this healthy crisis a new impact in the sickness of and the search of peace, global peace, in front of everybody. The God love be with you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, doctora.
Thank you very much,
Alfaro.
Dr. Alfaro, for your words and also for your suggestions in relation to what to do with the laws for the future for all the human society. I want to say thank you to all the panelists. I really would like to keep hearing all this with so much wisdom from the parliamentarians. Our time is, it's, we have some room for so many questions. We cannot cover all of them, but surely we will cover some of them to each of you. But now we're going to pick some of them. So I want you to be attentive when you answer the question. The first question is for Mrs. Loretta Sanchez. What would you do for the ends you propose?
You hear me? Thank you for your question. I think there are many members of Congress throughout the world who understand that we need to know each other better. So these sessions that we have, not only via Zoom, but when COVID-19 is over, to be able to meet each other face to face, be able to bring about our businessmen and women, people that have experience in small businesses, for example, here in the United States. I always believe in this. I always brought people from the United States in the business to Spain, Italy, Colombia. We are reaching Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, because I do believe when one person, all of us, we have the same desire. We want to have a nice family, we have a nice home, be able to reach grandparents, become grandparents, and be happy with them. All throughout the world, I've seen that. We all want that. So what Mother Moon is doing in helping us to dialogue, to share, to getting to know each other is very important. That's why I do this. I am with Mother Moon to know other members of Congress, other parliamentarians who do want to help our peoples, to know each other, to get to know each other, to share, to pass laws that will help people in poverty. That's what we have to do.
Muchas gracias. Como dice, tenemos tan poco tiempo para... Sí, por favor, Don Burton, ¿quiere decir alguna cosa? You can say, you can talk.
I just wanted to ask Loretta if she's sorry. I just want to know if you're sorry you didn't marry the president of Venezuela.
You know, Don Burton, I married a wonderful military man here in the United States, and you know that because I think you were at my wedding, at my reception. So I'm very happy. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, we have Nos tenemos que
Estamos
encerrar
muy
esta
alegres
sesión
ahora. Now we have to go
porque vamos
to
a tener
another
ainda
session
una próxima sesión
because we're going to have
de la
another session
Asociación
next
Interreligiosa
for
para la Paz
the
el
Interreligious
Desarrollo,
Association for
después
Peace and
de una hora.
Development.
Entonces,
So
quiero otra vez
after 1
agradecer a
hour,
los
you are all
panelistas.
welcome. So
Como
I want to
dice,
say thank
gustaría
you
de
to
estar
all the
con ustedes
panelists.
toda la
I will
tarde
be happy
para
to be with all of
enriquecer más
you
con
in
tanta
the afternoon
cultura,
to
con
enrich
tanta
myself
sabiduría
with so
y
much culture
principalmente con
and so
tanto
much
amor
wisdom,
humano,
especially with so much
dispuesto a compartir
human love from
con
you,
todos nosotros.
ready to share.
Muchas gracias. Y que
Thank
Dios
you
bendiga a todos
very,
y que
very much.
tengamos
And God
un
bless all of you.
excelente
And let's
seminario
have
de ILC de
a
estos
webinar,
3 días, hoy,
ILC,
mañana y
for
el
these 3
domingo.
days.
Muchas
We still
gracias.
have today,
Bendiciones
tomorrow,
de
and
Dios
Sunday.
para todos ustedes. Chao, chao.